welcome to Inside Casting on the VCN. I'm Marci Liroff, and I'm a casting director and producer and acting coach. And I'm real excited to talk to you guys today. It happened very quickly, and the next thing I knew, I was in makeup, hair and makeup at the ArcLight in a photo shoot. So it was just a connection through someone that I knew and who someone knew someone else. And I'm really excited to be part of it because I think casting directors for such a long time have really been overlooked. It's really a misunderstood part of the filmmaking process. And so to be thought of with all these other amazing filmmakers, editors, makeup artists, writers, directors is quite exciting for me. Well, just before I started casting, I was an assistant at ICM to one of their television agents. And I knew pretty much inside of a week that I didn't want to be an agent, but I used it as school. I used it as my university because at a large agency like ICM, there's so much information there. So I stayed there for about a year, and through working with the agents there, I learned what casting is. I had really no idea, but being an agent is kind of the other side of being a casting director. And so I met a bunch of casting directors that we were working with, and I realized that's really more where I want to be. And so I kind of put my feelers out, and I got a job offer to be an assistant for Mike Fenton from Fenton Feinberg Casting. And back in those days, there were only about 10 or 15 major casting directors across the country, and we were one of them. So we were a very busy office, and I was there for a lot of amazing films, and they were very busy, and they spread themselves kind of thin, and so a lot of things kind of came into my lap, and I was able to cast them. I hired interns from UCLA and USC to answer the phones and kind of handle the front office so that I was able to get into the room where we were casting. And I was very blessed to be there at a very creative time, and they taught me a lot and gave me a lot of opportunity. And while I was working there, the film Footloose was offered to me, and I brought it into the company, and I cast that film on my own. It was my first big movie on my own, and I realized it was time to branch out, and I started my own company, and I've been kind of a gypsy casting director ever since. I know a lot of actors that I see now say to me, "You're my first." You know, I was one of their first, if not their first audition, and they remember it really well. I was really young. I started doing this really young, and so we were all kind of young together. It was very exciting during the time of Pretty in Pink and St. Elmo's Fire, and I was kind of friends with all these actors, and we were all kind of going through it together. But in terms of what did they all have in common and what did I see, it's hard to really put into words, but when someone comes in my office and auditions for me, if they're right for the role and they bring something unique to it, it's almost like they change the molecules in the air in the room. I know that sounds kind of woo-woo and ridiculous, but I know when something's good, the hair stands up on my arms and in the back of my neck, and it's very exciting. And again, it's hard to put into words. I have kind of a visceral reaction to it. If you're consistently being brought back by a casting director, but you're not getting the role, it's still great news. It's amazing news. If you have a casting director that you keep coming in for and you're consistently good, and they want to hire you, but maybe you're just not right for a role, or it just doesn't mix. You don't work in the mix that they have. There's so many things that are out of your control in this business and in life. But the thing that you do have that's under your control is coming in, being really prepared, and being really as good as you can possibly be. And it shouldn't be your goal to try and get that role every time. It should be your goal to make fans and be consistently good in every room that you walk into. And then sooner or later, the tide's going to change, and you're going to get that role, and you're going to get the next few roles. So if a casting director is consistently bringing you in, this is the good news. I've heard a lot of actors complain. I taught this acting class a few months ago, and this actor said, "I've had 24 auditions this month, and I haven't gotten a thing." And I said, "And what's the bad news? I don't understand. You've got 24 auditions. Everybody else in this class has had maybe 2. This is all good." So it's really hard when you're in the middle of your career, you can't see outside of it, and you can't see your trajectory because you're in the middle of it. I think if you're consistently getting callbacks and people want to bring you in, that's the good news.